Well, hello, computer nerds, retro computing enthusiasts, electronics geeks, YouTubers of all stripes. Welcome back to my channel. Today is the day that we try and power this ET-3400 microprocessor trainer up and see if it works. Now, there's a couple ways I could do this, and my original plan was to pull out all the IC chips and power it up without the IC chips in circuit, just in case there's some wild voltage fluctuations or anything. And I actually went to the trouble of numbering them all in advance of doing that. But then I was watching another YouTube video about another fellow who was powering up an old ET-3400, and he just did it with a Variac. Well, I've got a Variac, so I think that's the way I will do it too. I will bring the voltage up very slowly while monitoring the 5-volt voltage rail, because none of the chips on here use anything more than 5 volts, so that's really all I have to worry about. And I got to thinking that, you know, this thing's 40-some years old, and the sockets, the plastic in the sockets, it could be pretty brittle by now. And maybe removing and reinserting the chips unless absolutely necessary might not be a good idea, because something might break. So unless I have to take some chips out for troubleshooting purposes, I think I'm just going to leave them in the unit. So yeah, I think we'll just power it up with the Variac over here and see how that goes. But first, before we do that, you know, in the last video I found a new back for it. I got an old ET-3200 trainer and stole the back off of it and put it on here. I'm going to take the back off because I've got to do a little maintenance inside before we power it up. I noticed some things when I was working on the back. I'm going to put some electric tape over these standoffs over here, because they've got brass inserts on them. I don't think they're touching the circuit board, but just in case, so there's no short circuits, I'm going to do that. And then over here, I don't know how well that's going to show up, but there's a solder joint over here that's pretty much non-existent. I mean, the leads of the wires and the capacitors and the wires are wrapped around it, but really there's not much solder there. And then these legs of these capacitors really should have had some sort of insulating sleeving put on them before they were soldered in place, because it's dangerously close to making a short circuit there in a couple of different places. I've bent the leads a little bit so that that's not a problem anymore, but wow, that's a little bit dangerous. I mean, it won't be so bad once the cover's back on, because, you know, nothing's going to bother them, but still, yeah, they should have put some insulating sleeving on that before they soldered it together. So I'm going to touch up this solder joint, maybe this one down here. I'll get a closer look at it, see if it really needs it. And I'll look at some of these other solder joints, like along the switch here, and see if they're all okay looking or if they need a little touching up. And maybe back here. And we'll see. I'll get that all done, get the tape on up there, and then we'll think about powering the thing up and seeing how well it works. And I need to fix these problems before I put the back on. Yeah, this was definitely a kit-built unit. This was not a factory-built unit. I can tell. The solder joints are not very good, very amateurish. So just come in here and touch these up a little bit. Yeah, that's much better. Oops, sorry, kicked the tripod. Let's see about down here. That actually looks okay now that I look closer at it. That one's okay. This one, which you probably can't see on the back here, this ground one, this needs a little touch up. Yeah. And then, yeah, one or two of these on the switch over here are really just not very good at all. It's like they wrapped the wire around and then just kissed it with the soldering iron, but really, yeah, that's better. Let's see, this one over here doesn't look too good either. I assume it worked. I don't know though. You know, maybe the reason I got this thing without a back was because they could never get it to work. That's a possibility. Maybe they bought the kit and got to work assembling it, but no, never finished it or never could get it to work. I don't know. I'm going to actually hit this one with a little bit more. Bit of a cold joint, it looks like. Oh, that's much better. All right, that's much better looking. Let's see, that's good. Bend the lead on that capacitor so it doesn't touch anything. Bend the lead on that capacitor so it doesn't touch anything. There we go. Okay. So that's much better. The rest of these solder joints look okay. Over here, that looks okay. That looks okay. I guess that'll work. Okay. So that's all the soldering done. At least everything that looks like it needs to be soldered. Let me get some insulating tape on those standoffs over there, just to be sure that they don't short out against the back of the circuit board. Maybe I'm being a little paranoid, but you know what? Better safe than sorry. Because this back was not designed for this unit. So I'm sure the original back that came with this thing didn't have these standoffs with the brass inserts sticking up against the back of the circuit board. Okay, so I guess we're ready to test. Let me put the back on. I'm not going to screw it on because if anything goes wrong I'm going to have to get into it again. So I might as well leave the screws out. Okay, let me get set up for electrical testing. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. I'm going to plug this into my Variac. Now the Variac is turned off at the moment. And what the Variac is, it's a variable transformer. So I'll start out with the output voltage at 0%, and I'll slowly ramp it up while monitoring the voltage, the 5-volt rail on this. So let's see, I can plug in, it looks like here, to monitor 5 volts. That's ground there. We turn my meter on. Okay. So we're at 0 volts right now. You can read that. Okay, that's showing up on the viewfinder. Let me plug the Variac in. Now it's turned off at the moment. Okay, the Variac is off. Now I can turn it on. We are at 0% output. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on and I'm going to slowly ramp the voltage up. And we should see what's happening here. Alright, so I'm going to turn it on. Nothing yet. And I don't expect to see anything until we get up quite a ways. Well, it's slowly rising up. I'm surprised it's coming up that quick. Well, what do you know? Let me get it up to where we got a good solid 5 volts. Well, there it stops at 80%. It's not going up anymore. So 4.98 apparently is what it's going to output. Okay. And look, we've got something on the, I hope that's showing up. We've got something on the LCDs over there, or on the LEDs. Let me hit the reset button and see what happens. Holy cow, it works! Look at that! Oh my god, it works! CPU up! That's exactly what it's supposed to say. Let me ramp the Variac all the way up to 100%. Okay, and we're still holding at 4.98 volts. That's good. So now it's getting full voltage, and everything's happy. Yeah, cool. Alrighty. It works! It works! Oh, the dogs across the street are even happy. What do you know? Alright. Well, I guess I don't need to worry about pulling the chips out then, do I? I can just take all these labels off. I may let this sit here for a few minutes and just sort of cook. And then I'll get back in the back of it and feel the voltage regulators and see if they're, you know, excessively hot or anything. But I got a feeling this thing's going to work just fine. You know, after I check out the voltage regulators, I'll put the screws back in the back, and hey, we got us a working ET-3400. So this was the last outdoor operation I was going to do on it, just in case like a cap blew or something and the magic smoke came out or the regulator blew. I didn't want to stink up the house, so I did this outdoors in my outdoor workbench. But hey, this thing's working now. It's going to have a nice place indoors in my lab indoors from now on, out of the weather and the humidity and whatnot, so we can preserve what life is left in this ancient thing. So I'm going to let it run for just a few minutes, well, maybe more than a few minutes, and I'll turn the power off, unplug it, and get back in the back and feel things and see how they feel. Also going to feel the chips. The ROM chip's slightly warm. The processor, a little warm, yeah, that's got some warmth to it. This other chip's a little above ambient, not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, the processor definitely the warmest of the chips, with the ROM second warmest, but not alarmingly so. The Z80 on my Teletech System Master runs hotter than that. So higher clock speed. I think this is running at 0.5 megahertz, and the Z80 is running at 4 megahertz. So yeah, the faster you run them, the more heat they dissipate. But yeah, it's so far so good. So let me clean up my mess here a little bit, and while that's going on, I'll just let this sort of burn in for a while. Then I'll get in the back and see how the regulator feels, how hot it is. Well, this has been running for a few minutes while I went off and did some other things. Put away the soldering iron and some other stuff. So yeah, it's still doing good. Not too hot. I think what I'm going to do is, let me pull, yeah, the voltage is still at 4.98 volts, right on the money. So let me pull these out, set this aside, turn this off, unplug it, and real quick open the back up and see. Well, that regulator it's warm, but it's not overly so. And then these regulators down here, well, they're stone cold because they have no load on them. That's a plus or minus 12 volt regulators. The 5 volt regulator, it's a little warm, but not more than I would expect, so that's good. All right, let me put the screws in the back, put it back together, and then it'll be time to actually try running a program on this thing and see how that goes. I bet it's going to work just fine. Seems to be okay. So let me get the back on, and we'll get to programming. Alright, it's all back together. I'm sure I'm safe plugging in the wall now after all this testing, but you know, the Variac's right there, so I just plugged it back in the Variac, so we're powered up. And I have here an example program right out of the manual for this thing. And if I type this in, what it's supposed to do, and we'll see if it actually does it, is turn on and off every segment of each 7-segment display in turn as sort of a test. So what I need to do is I need to type this in and run it, and we'll see if it's actually gonna work. Oh, it's been a long time since I've done this. This brings back memories, though. This is high school. We had one of these in high school. I think I said that in the first video in this series. You know, I went to high school in St. Joseph, Michigan, which was right near the factory, Heathkit factory in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And our school was just loaded with Heathkit stuff. They donated a lot of equipment to us, and the electronics lab and the computer lab were just loaded with Heathkit equipment. And I messed with one of these in high school. So this is very nostalgic. This is bringing back memories. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. Let's see. We got to start at auto. and at address, this program starting at 0000. And let's see here. Now I should type in bytes, and it should automatically, since I pressed auto and starting at 00, every time I type in a byte now, it should write that to that memory location and then automatically advance the address by 1. So we'll see if that works. So first byte I need to write in is BD. Yep, okay. Took that and it advanced the address by 1. Okay. So FC. Okay. BC. Okay, this is working. 8, 6. Let's see, the 01 or a D1? I think there's a 01. This is going to take a while. I'll probably speed this part up. Just trying to keep my place in the code here. I don't want to get out of sequence, so we're at B. Okay, 000B. So the next one is D7. Alright, so that should be all typed in. I'm gonna go through it and examine everything and make sure, because it's been a long time since I've done this. Let's see, examine. Oops, wait a minute. Hit reset. Examine 000. So BD. Yep. Alright, so I'm just going to go forward through this program and make sure everything matches what I'm supposed to have typed in. I remember back in the lab in high school, you didn't want to call the instructor over to see your program run until after you double-checked it. Because it can be embarrassing. This F key... This F key doesn't always work, I have found. So where are we? We're at 0004. So that should have advanced. I guess I'm going to have to hit it a couple of times sometimes. That could have led to a problem too. So maybe I can clean that. We'll see. Because I have heard it's impossible to get replacements for these keys. 6, 7, 6. Yeah, there's that F key again, not working right. Gotta push it twice sometimes. Or 3 times. I guess if I push it hard on the top edge, it works better. Okay, it looks right. I'm surprised with the trouble I'm having with the F key that I managed to type the whole program in correctly. So let's see if we can get it to run. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Let me zoom in for you. I don't know if that's showing up. Look at that. It's working. Holy cow. Yeah. Okay. I've got a working ET-3400 microcomputer trainer. Cool. Oh, I can relive my high school years. And I can also use this for writing software for the 6800 processor here. You know, for a breadboard computer, 6800 breadboard computer I'm considering building. So I can use this to write and test software for it. Cool. I am a happy camper, let me tell you. And I got this for the fraction of the cost of a working unit. I mean, if you go back and you look at the earlier videos, I bought this. It had no back. The transformer was hanging out. I bought it for a fraction of what a fully functional complete unit costs, and I've got it up and running. I am so happy. Look at it go. Alrighty. Well, I think just for funsies, I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon typing example programs from the manual into this thing and playing around with it. But I think that'll be it for this video. Maybe there'll be more videos on this in the future if I'm doing something interesting with it. But for now, I think we're going to wrap it up. That's episode 3 of getting this old ET-3400 microprocessor trainer up and running. Success! So if you found this interesting, educational, inspirational, you know, give the video a thumbs up, give it a like, and subscribe to see future videos. There'll be more videos on retro computing, electronics, gold recovery from e-waste, and all the other stuff I do. And they'll be coming out fast and furious, so just subscribe to see those future videos. Press the little bell icon that YouTube makes you press to be notified when those new videos come out. And thanks again for watching. Have a good day. I hope your day turns out as good as mine. Bye. Okay, so here's the program testing all of the segments of the 7-segment displays, and that's how fast it's running if I type it in right off the sheet here. But my assembly language programming is coming back to me quickly. And I'm looking through the code here, and this seems to be the timing loop right here, the amount that's loaded into, what is it, the X register? Yeah, and then it's decremented. So this is the timing loop. So if I change the value here, I should be able to change the speed at which this is doing its thing. I don't know how fast it'll go, but I bet it'll go faster than that. I mean, it's pretty slow clock speed, but still. So if we go examine, looks like 0, 0, 1, 2. We got a 2F there. Let me change that. Let's say 1, 8 and see what that does. And then we'll run the program again. Oh yeah, that's a lot faster. Look at that. Okay. Oh, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this, that's for sure.